Hi guys, my name's Deborah. This is gonna be my first YouTube video in my YouTube series, kind of channel, whatever. It's gonna be a series kind of about all of the paths and steps to be able to become fully aware, fully awakened, fully a part of the Illuminati, so that you can really make change in the world and actually bring to change things here in the 3D world, which is the world that we live in, but our heads live in all these other little spaces and different timelines. So we got to work on how to collapse these timelines so that we can bring them down to this level, so that we can actually bring change in life into the world that we literally live in, because these bodies are here, and the bodies are kind of like in what I like to call the Matrix. And the Illuminati, or whatever, is that group of people that have been able to escape the Matrix. And I don't know why they haven't made any changes yet. But I think it might have to do with something, because all of us aren't on the same page, and we have to be able to break the government and their whole system before we can even make any good changes. But I've thought through all of that, so like, just follow along. So this first video is going to kind of be about spiritually awakening and how to become a full spiritual being, because that's all I've been doing and thinking about and taking notes the whole entire journey during COVID, which I think is why COVID happened, was so that we could you know, like, get triggered to like move into being spiritually awakened, just by the way. But the Illuminati has wanted this to be a secret for a really long time, but I think for now they're kind of just like, you know, we kind of are done having all the power, because they realized that if you think that you are more powerful and better than everybody else, then there will always be a competition, there will always be a cycle happening. Somebody is always gonna feel like they're out of place and feel like they want to attack you, even if they don't really feel like that. You know what I mean? Do you understand? Because our thoughts are all on the same wavelength. Really, I feel like we all pretty much think the same thing, but what we talk about and what we do does not convey what we actually feel and what we actually think. And that's why Generation Z is here to save the day, because we all been through some fucked up shit. We grew up with phones. We actually grew up with technology, like, you know, like we grew with technology, if that kind of makes sense, because technology and all of the wavelengths and all the messages and all that kind of thing kind of taught us how to make ourselves very secure, because we learned how to have a mask through the screen. And some of us use that mask in not a scary way at all. We use that mask to be able to develop ourselves and, you know, to feel actually safe. Because some of us, you know, when you text somebody and they seem like they're this great, awesome person, and then you meet them and they're like nothing like what they seem like over text, that's exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of us, at least me and my friends, I don't know about everybody, but they're like the same people, whether they're on the screen or whether they're in person, for the most part. You know, everything's different, I know, but like when parents get involved and stuff, then all of a sudden you gotta go into this very respectful mode, but that's it. I feel like that's pretty much the only time that things change. Or maybe customer service. I think it's kind of a combination of all of them. You know, your phone, most of us grew up in customer service, so we learned how to get along with people while cutting ourselves off from them, you know, giving minimal interaction with them so that we can, like, you know, respect them and they'll respect us for the most part. But some people are like mean, which are mostly like the older people, because they think us kids don't know anything, but really we actually know everything. This spiritual journey that I went on, fucking insane. It was crazy. I felt like I went to like the very beginning of time, like 3 different times. there's a ton of fucking timelines, all right? And I think I went through all of them. And you want to know why I think that? Besides the fact that I had all these premonitions and visions and shit. All right, so if you have a mole or a freckle on this part of your arm, it means you are like a witch in a past life. Now, this is where it gets kind of crazy. I have one here. I got one here. I have one here. I have one here. One here. One here. One here. 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 And oh, I don't have another one like on my wrist. Just like that one. Anyways, but it makes a full circle, which is like a cycle, which is like the longest line of witches ever to be alive. So I'm just gonna let that sink in for just a second. Yeah. So I was able to take a step back when I went through all of these lives and visions and be able to take notes on what exactly needed to change. And that's what this YouTube series is going to be about, is all the stuff that we have to change and become more aware of so that we can actually become our soul selves and become into perfect unity with our conscious self and our subconscious self, which ultimately will make us all more connected. It's kind of like balancing your shadow and your light side, is how I would like to think of it. I also think of like Avatar, the blue people one, not the airbending and all that stuff, not that one, but their way of life and how connected they were to nature and the earth, because it's not just a connection of people. We also have to learn how to respect the earth, which is exactly why everything is falling apart, because we literally attack ourselves, which if we attack ourselves, we also attack the world and the earth and the animals and all of that stuff. Like, it's just so sad about everything that's happened, but we'll get to that part in the series later on. I won't get too much into it right now, but yes. Now, I do believe COVID happened for all of us to kind of be triggered into becoming this spiritually awakened being, or to become a part of the Illuminati, which they don't really want you to. Well, I think a lot of us don't think that it's possible for us to become a part of the Illuminati, because like we're normal people and they're famous people, you know? But like, if you think about it, like, most of us as Generation Z, at least my younger generation, we normally don't sexualize the people that we see on media. We don't really judge them unless like some story comes out that's like actually true, or like something like that. Or like, yeah, we also understand like the media likes to drop a lot of shit from like the old past, which is not true, because all of us are constantly changing and growing from the information that we get in from the world. And that's why I think like when things like with Jeffree Star, all the racism shit, like, he's not racist. Like, I don't know how many times that man has to fucking apologize for shit that happened like way in the fucking past. Like, you know what I mean? Imagine if that happened to you. Like, imagine if a mistake that you did from way long ago was constantly getting brought up again. Like, seriously, like, that shit's fucking, it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. And us, you know, I feel like we all kind of understand that, and that's the point that we're trying to get to, is where we all have such a deep understanding of people and like the struggles they've been through and all of that stuff, so that we can put our minds together so that we can be able to like move forward as a society, so we are not staying in this same time cycle. Because bringing up stuff from the past literally brings people back to that like mindset, you know, of like racism, sexism, all of that bad shit. I'll get more, there's just so much bad stuff, like there's just a lot of bad shit that we have to fix. But the first step into doing that is becoming more awakened and aware of ourselves and letting stuff in the past go and like all of that stuff. So basically, I think really to become a part of the Illuminati, which I feel like I have infiltrated, and I have to share with you guys. You have to be able to think of everybody side and perspective so that you can be able to make a proper decision in life, because you cannot go and project your thoughts onto somebody else. You can't get validation from somebody else's thoughts. You have to get validation from here in the 3D. That is why we have to bring our thoughts here, why we have to speak our thoughts, use our voice, and actually make change. Now, I think a lot of people right now are really looking for a way to change things, which is why all the riots and all of that stuff have happened. But if you look at history, how many times have riots actually worked and actually changed a goddamn thing? We had the original one from like the Civil War time, the basic black and white one where the black people, or people of color, you know, rose up and were like, yo, we're tired of being treated like fucking shit. But even though they already had that fucking war from the Civil War when they stopped being slaves, which should have stopped the whole idea of racism in the very beginning, but it didn't. Then they had like where they labeled and segregated everything. So then they had to fight that. And then the government was like, all right, we're gonna give you this idea of freedom, but clearly the idea of racism hasn't gone away yet, and the riots aren't going to do anything unless we actually stop the idea of racism, which is what I'm saying is like you have to stop the idea of the thing by keeping everything here. You can't let your thoughts wander, and you can't let, if you feel like somebody thinks a certain way about you at all, I would say the best way to do is just to speak your mind. And that doesn't mean just go around attacking everybody, because yeah, that's stereotyping 100%. If you just look at somebody and you're just like, I bet they hate me. I'm sorry, where's the evidence in that? Did that person, glare at you? Or did they just look at you? That's why it's important that we are able to interact with people, so that we will be able to actually feel the connection between the people, you know, so that we can start to gauge and understand that almost all of us just want respect. That's all we really want. And if we're able to establish that between everybody and to keep that respect as a full unity, imagine the change that we could actually achieve. It would be insane. It would be a whole entire new world. It would be beautiful. It would be amazing. And it would give people room to breathe, and it would take the fear out of the world, because fear is what is causing all of these cycles and all of these bad things. And it's not just fear that someone's going to hate you, it's also fear that someone thinks that you hate them, because it's a two-way street, 100%. And we have to stop it on one side of it, because if you stop it on one side of it, it cuts off all supply to the other thought. And when that person thinks that they have that thought and it's cut off and they don't get it watered anymore, it'll just dry out and die in that person, because they will start to realize that nobody thinks that way anymore at all. And that idea is gone. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I kind of think that's where we have to go to become more spiritually awakened and more aware. And yeah, I think that's pretty much yeah. And that's all for this first video. Next week's video is going to be about the Matrix, which is the world that we live in here, how we're going to be able to escape it, and how we're going to be able to come back to it, stay our full selves, infiltrate it, and actually change and work and how to beat the Matrix and how to survive in the Matrix without fucking dying, because nobody's dying no more. We're alive and we are going to change the world. And that's what I got.